Namaste. Welcome to Awaken Living with Nibodhi. Today, I'm beginning with a question. What if one of the most powerful healing systems in the world can be practiced every time you sit down to eat? It can, and that's the view of Ayurveda. In the classical text of Ayurveda, there's a few statements that really emphasize this point. It says that the physician begins the cure of the patient with the diet, and that if the patient follows the proper diet, there's no need for medicine. If the patient doesn't follow the proper diet, no medicine's ever going to help. And without proper diet, without proper beverages, without proper lifestyle, no therapeutic measure is ever going to actually achieve the intended results. And Ayurveda goes on to state that food is the life of all beings and that the body is born from food, as is disease. And from this Ayurvedic perspective, we begin to treat by looking at what the person eats, not just what they eat, but how they eat, the time of the day they eat, what the quality of the Agni, the digestive fire, is, proper food combinations, and if they're not creating proper compatibilities with their foods, and then the daily routine and the seasonal habits. And it's only after that these factors are addressed that herbs, that medicine are actually prescribed. And the Charaka Samhita, the classical Ayurvedic text, it tells us that most diseases in their early stage respond simply to dietary and some lifestyle corrections. So today we're going to spend a lot of time going into these dietary considerations. But before we do that, I want to remind everyone that the complete Ayurveda home course is now live. It's available. And if you ever wanted to know about Ayurveda and how it applies to you, this is it. It's called the Complete Ayurveda Home Course for a reason. It really helps you to learn and understand about yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's really the instruction manual for the human karma mobile. So if you're interested in learning more and really exploring you and how you can operate on every level at the highest state of existence, this is the course. So many people think that Ayurveda is complicated, and it's not. But they imagine complex herbal formulas and having to memorize complex Sanskrit terms, intense detox programs, or really complicated lifestyle recommendations that are impossible to fit into the modern world. And those things do have their place, but Ayurveda really starts off much more simple than that, and that's with the rasa, the taste. Every single food we eat is information. It's the information of the 5 elements. It's the information of the planet. It's the blessings of the planet. It's the prana shakti, the life force of the planet. And it communicates with our body. And truly, every bite we eat influences our energy. It influences our digestion, even our emotions and our thoughts. It balances or imbalances our hormones. It determines our cravings. It either supports or weakens our immune system. Our food determines our sleep and even our states of consciousness. From the Ayurvedic view, food is not just calories and macronutrients like protein, carbohydrates, and fats. That's a part of it, but that's a very small part of it because food carries this divine intelligence to it. Each food carries an energetic quality that influences our dosha, and ultimately it shapes our life experience and how we perceive the world. So today's exploration is on the primary Ayurvedic teaching, the foundation of Ayurvedic food, and that's on the 6 tastes. And when we understand the 6 tastes, it gives us the knowledge and the practical tools for balancing our body and our mind on a moment-to-moment basis. So in this episode, we're going to really go through the 6 tastes and how they affect the 3 doshas, vata, pitta, kapha. When we have cravings, what does that mean? And why do some foods heal while others are creating imbalance? And how we really use the 6 tastes as medicine. And the 6 tastes matters profoundly. While modern nutrition focuses on nutrients, Ayurveda gives the most emphasis to the gunas. Those are the qualities. When we eat a food, Ayurveda looks at whether the food is heating or cooling, if it's heavy or light, if it's drying or moisturizing, if it grounds us or if it's stimulating us. And the 6 tastes provide us this immense insight into these qualities because each taste contain a specific element. And with those elements, there's a predictable effect that's going to happen in the body. So if we use the 6 tastes wisely, intelligently, they create balance. And if we misuse them or overuse them or underuse them, then it's going to support us creating an imbalance. So one of the foundational Ayurvedic teachings is that like increases like, and opposites bring harmony, bring balance. And this principle actually explains just about everything in Ayurvedic nutrition. Say, if a person already has excessive heat and they consume heating foods every day, what's going to happen? Naturally, the heat is going to increase. And if a person is dry and depleted and consumes drying food continuously, dryness is going to increase. It's going to deplete the body. So the principle is that balance comes from introducing that opposite quality. And the 6 tastes really show us how to do this. So for those who aren't familiar, we classify the tastes by 6 tastes. It's sweet, sour, and salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. And every food we eat contains at least one, if not more, of these tastes. And many foods, most of the foods actually contain several tastes simultaneously. And a complete meal ideally does include all 6 tastes, just not in equal amounts, because each dosha has predominant tastes that balance it and imbalance it. But we ultimately want to get all 6 tastes. In America, we have a lot of all-you-can-eat buffets, mostly Indian buffets. There's others, but we have all these all-you-can-eat buffets. And this is a very interesting concept because it should actually say all can eat, not all you can eat. It can be all can eat. In India, we have what's called a thali. It's a plate with all these different compartments in it. And on the table, there's a lot of different foods that do comprise the 6 tastes. And that was originally designed so that mom doesn't have to cook 5, 10, 15 different meals, depending on how many people are in the house. They make a dish, they make 6 dishes that contain the 6 tastes, and each person, based on their constitution, can take the right amount of the taste that they need. So I think that they came here and made these all-you-can-eat buffets designed that all can eat. Everyone in the family can eat. Now we've turned that into a hedonistic pig-out party, but it's basically you can choose what foods you need to create the most balance and a little bit of the other ones. So let's explore each one of these. And each of the 6 tastes contains 1 or 2 of the 5 elements. And this really determines the dosha effect. So beginning with the sweet taste. The sweet taste is made up predominantly of the earth and water elements. And that's grounding, that's foundation. So sweet taste is actually the most anabolic and building of the taste because the earth and water element, it nourishes the tissue, it promotes growth, it creates satisfaction, and it supports stability. We spent 9 months, hopefully, in a very warm, watery container, the womb, where we grew. And so it's naturally very nourishing, very comforting, very grounding. And so some of the examples of the 6 tastes, most grains do contain the the sweet taste to it. Not all of them, but most of them. Rice especially, oats, and wheat. And I'm talking about the ancient wheat, the einkorn wheat, which is the wheat that God put on the planet. Modern wheat is greatly altered from the original wheat. So you got to be careful with that. If you're going to go for wheat, if your body handles wheat well, go for the ancient grain, the original wheat, the einkorn. Milk products, especially ghee, is a very nourishing, sweet taste. Dates and ghee are a great way to build the body, to create that nourishing quality in the body. Things like sweet potatoes or yams, squashes. In the fruit category, a lot of fruits are sweet. Some are not, but many fruits are sweet. Mangoes especially, very ripe papayas, cherries, things like this. Coconut is made up of the water and earth element. And natural forms of sugar, obviously, are sweet. That's raw honey. That's the raw coconut sugar or the raw cane sugar, maple syrup, things like that. But Ayurveda's definition of sweet goes much, much beyond sugar, right? It's in the foods. And basically, any nourishing food will become sweet after digestion. And how the sweet taste then affects the dosha, it balances the vata and pitta dosha, because vata is made up of the air element. It's lacking water and earth. And pitta is made up of fire. It's also lacking water and earth, although pitta does have a little bit of fire, but it's mostly a little bit of water, but it's mostly pitta. It's mostly fire. The sweet taste naturally increases kapha, because kapha is the water element. It's the water and earth element. The qualities: vata is dry, light, cold, and mobile. And sweet taste is heavy, cooling, and grounding. So these qualities oppose each other. Pitta is hot and intense. Sweet provides that cooling, soothing energy. Kapha is already very heavy, moist, and stable. So sweet shares the quality of kapha. So too much sweet, excess of sweet, is going to naturally increase kapha. The benefits of the sweet taste in the right proportion, as per your constitution: it builds our tissue. It actually supports fertility. It nourishes the brain, the nervous system, and because it's providing that contentment. And it provides contentment in the gut, where actually 93% of our neurohormones, neurotransmitters are. It can also be used to enhance our strength and endurance, and it's really great for calming stress. When people are stressed, what do they typically go for? The sweet taste, but usually just not a healthy form of that sweet taste. If we consume too much sweet taste, that's where excess begins, the excess weight gain. Congestion happens. The digestion might become sluggish and we become lethargic, like think of sugar comas. And it can actually create attachment and can also create too much sleep. So unfortunately, the modern diet very often contains a lot of excess in the sweet taste. And the biggest issue is these refined sugars and processed foods. So we need to be mindful how we take the sweet taste in. It's not just anything sweet. It has to be healthy, organic, local, and seasoned, things like that. Then comes, after sweet, is sour, the sour taste. And the sour taste is predominantly made up of the earth and fire elements. And if you've ever bitten into a really sour lemon, in Ayurveda, we have a fruit called amalaki. It actually has 5 of the 6 tastes in it, but the first one is incredibly sour. And sour, what it does is it awakens the senses and it stimulates the digestive system. So if you bite into a lemon or a little lemon water, or you bite into an amalaki, immediately the mouth waters and the digestive system becomes activated. In Ayurveda, they have amala pickle, and that you eat a little bit of the amala pickle at the beginning of the digestion, at the beginning of the meal, and it supports that digestion. So it just activates the digestive system. So some of the examples of the sour taste in our diet, one is yogurt. Yogurt, actually any fermented foods, things like vinegars, sauerkraut, fermented vegetables, fermented pickles. In the modern time, we use a lot of kombucha. Citrus fruits, a lot of citrus fruits are sour, and yeah, these types of things. And how sour taste is affecting the dosha is, remember, so sour is the earth and fire element. So the vata dosha doesn't have very much earth and fire. It doesn't have any. And so it actually balances the vata dosha. It calms vata dosha down. If vata is in excess, it decreases it. But pitta and kapha both have fire and earth elements. So it's going to naturally increase the pitta and kapha dosha. And sour is a warming and moisturizing, moistening food. So it really, really helps counteract vata's cold and dry nature. And if we have too much of it, pitta gets aggravated. It increases the heaviness of kapha. But how to benefit from the sour taste? It really does improve our appetite incredibly. It stimulates the digestive enzymes. It supports and increases the salivation. It also does help with absorption of nutrients. And just on the mindfulness level, it promotes alertness. You become very awake when you bite into something sour. But if we have too much of it, regardless of the dosha, it can create acidity. It can create hyperacidity. It can create things like heartburn. I've eaten too much sour before, and I'm pitta dosha. I've had skin irritation from eating too much sour because I actually love amala pickle. And when I'm in India, I tend to eat a little bit too much of it sometimes. And it creates skin irritation, rashes, inflammation. And it can create irritability as well if the mind is not regulated. So using sour mindfully is also very important. From sour then comes the salty taste. And salty is made up of water and fire. And I think the salt taste is often misunderstood. In Ayurveda, salt is viewed as an essential nutrient and an essential taste when it's used appropriately. And that means sea salt or Himalaya salt, mineral salts, and even seaweed, sea vegetables. Okay? They're essential for electrolyte balance and mineral balance. I'm not talking about ionized table salt, deionized table salt. That doesn't do much. That actually is not so healthy for us. But the effects of salty taste, because salty is water and fire, again, it helps to decrease vata very quickly. And so if you think about this, vata, the air element, sweet, sour, and salty tastes are just phenomenal for vata constitution. They bring vata into balance. But because of the fireness of it and the waterness of it, it's going to increase the pitta and kapha dosha. Because salt is moistening, it's warming, and it's grounding. And so that quality is so good to calm vata down. And if you have it in excess, it's going to heat the body up and it's going to create water retention. The medical health benefits of salt taste is that it does support the digestion. It promotes hydration. It really supports our electrolyte balance. And it's also just really nice because it enhances the flavor of our food. And it also does relax our muscle tissue. So that's really good. But again, if you have too much salt in the diet, that is going to create some water retention. It can create swelling. Definitely, it's going to elevate the blood pressure. And that's really, especially with the table salt, the ionized salt, it does it very quickly. And too much salt will create inflammation, and it can create decomposition of the tissue, especially in aging tissue. So it just needs to be used mindfully and in balance. After the salty taste comes the pungent taste, and that's made from fire and air. So you can already really start to understand how that's going to affect the dosha, right? So it's fire and air. It might not be the best thing for vatas or pittas. Pungent is the taste of stimulation. It's highly activating, it's highly energizing, and very penetrating into the tissue. And that comes from foods like garlic, from onions, from ginger, black pepper, cayenne pepper, hot chili peppers, mustard. These are the things that are very pungent in the diet. And as we can see, the effect on the dosha, that's going to increase vata and pitta very quickly, where it's incredible for kapha. It's incredibly decreasing excess of kapha. Because remember, kapha tends to get congested. It tends to be heavy, slow digestion. So that pungent taste cuts through all of that stagnation and it awakens the fire. It burns toxins stuck in the body. It dries up the excess of water. It burns that visceral fat. So it's super useful for kapha conditions because it's going to improve the circulation, number one. It's going to enhance digestion and metabolism. Yeah, it removes stagnation. It clears mucus from the tissue. Any excess, it dissolves it. And it also greatly increases awareness. Okay? But too much pungent can create anxiety for sure. It can create irritability. It can actually create anger. And it has a dry quality to it. It can lead to burnout if it's consumed all the time. And it will also create inflammation if inflammation is already there. And in the modern world, so many people live in these high stress, sympathetic nervous system fight or flight environments. So there's already too much excess and too much fire. So for them, too much pungent foods are going to dramatically worsen those symptoms. And I'm pitta, and so I'm a little bit guilty of that. I love the fiery taste. I love the pungent taste. And it creates excess of fire. I digest my food too quickly. I've learned to moderate it, but I still love the pungent taste. And when the doshas go out of balance, we do crave the thing that makes us go out of balance more. That's part of the cravings. And so after pungent comes bitter, which is phenomenal for pitta. The bitter taste is made up of the air and ether element. So as you can see, that's going to be super beneficial for pitta and kapha, not so much for vata. And in the modern society, in the modern diet, bitter is, I think, the most underconsumed taste. Most people don't like bitter, but it's highly, highly prized in Ayurveda for its cleansing and lightening qualities. Some examples are all the bitter greens. In Ayurveda, we have a food called Karela, or bitter gourd or bitter melon. It's so bitter, and we even use bitter gourd juice to clear excessive liver heat and cirrhosis of the liver, alcoholic fatty liver disease, or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It clears that out. Dark leafy greens like kale, the bitter greens, dandelion greens, arugula, mustard greens. The Ayurvedic herb neem is incredibly bitter, or guduchi. This is a fantastic bitter herb in Ayurveda. Turmeric is bitter. And so really the bitter taste, it's going to increase vata very quickly, and especially if vatas are eating raw foods that are bitter, and it will very also quickly decrease the pitta and kapha. Bitter's quality is that it's very cooling. It's drying and it's lightening, so that's great. It helps to clear the excess of heat that's associated with pitta. Kapha can have excess of heat as well, but it can also have excess of accumulation. It can be cold accumulation or hot accumulation, but it clears it out either way. So what bitter is used for in Ayurveda is to support detoxification, clearing the excess of heat. Phenomenal for cleaning the blood. It purifies the blood so well. It cleans, purifies, and regenerates our liver. It reduces cravings, actually. It's fantastic for reducing craving, and it's just lightening to the body. But in any condition, too much bitter, excessive bitter, can create weakness. It can create depletion. It can create coldness. It can create dryness and even instability. And so luckily, I also love bitter. My two favorite tastes are bitter and pungent. I'm pitta, and so if I am going to have pungent things, I try to combine it with bitter to create neutrality. And then the astringent taste, the last taste, astringent. It's made up of air and earth elements. So think about that, air and earth. What's that going to balance? What's that going to increase? It's going to balance the pitta dosha, and it has the potential to increase the vata and kapha dosha. Astringent, any astringent things, it has that tightening. When you have something astringent, your lips pucker, you tighten up. It has a drying quality. That's felt immediately. So things that are in our diet that are relatively astringent, unripe bananas are very astringent, and that's phenomenal. If you have loose motion, if you have diarrhea, unripe bananas, it tightens it up. It stops that diarrhea very quickly. It's fantastic. Many legumes, lentils, beans, these are also have an astringent quality. Cranberries do, pomegranates do, and even green tea has a very strong astringent quality. And how that affects the dosha is that it's going to increase vata while decreasing pitta and kapha. And the quality, it does have a cooling effect on the body. And the drying quality of it reduces the excessive moisture and excessive heat. So the benefits of that are, if there is excessive moisture in the tissue, it's going to absorb that. Astringent things are excellent for wound healing as well, internally and topically. It reduces bleeding internally and topically. You can take dry lentil powder and apply it to an open wound and stop the bleeding. It's fantastic. And it does help tone the tissue, especially the muscle tissue, and it supports proper elimination. And so in Ayurveda, we use astringent things to treat a lot of digestive issues: gas, bloating, constipation, musculoskeletal tension, dry skin. It's actually really good for emotional and mental rigidity and anxiety. So that's the six tastes, an overall view of the six tastes. So to really simplify that, if you're a vata constitution, or if you have excessive vata in your system, you want to look to foods that are naturally sweet, sour, or salty, and limit pungent, bitter, and astringent. Still, you want a little bit of that in the diet, but just in limited amounts, because vata needs the warmth. Vata does great with moisturizing foods, nourishing foods, and grounding foods. And if you have a pitta dosha, or you have excess of pitta, the sweet, bitter, and astringent tastes are going to be super valuable, and less of the sour, salty, and pungent, because pitta requires cooling down. It requires calming, requires nourishing, and pitta does best with moderation of anything. And then for the kapha person, again, if you're a kapha dosha, or there's an excess of the kapha in the system, the pungent, bitter, and astringents are fantastic, while want to limit the sweet, sour, and salty taste. Kapha is really supported when there's stimulating foods, lightening foods that support movement, circulation, digestion, and elimination. And when we have cravings, Ayurveda offers somewhat of an interesting perspective on cravings, because sometimes cravings represent a genuine need. The body is speaking to us. The wisdom of our body is telling us what we need. And other times we're dysregulated, and it reflects what the imbalance is. So a depleted person, a depleted vata person, may crave the sweet and salty foods because those bring grounding. But I've seen it so many times when vata's so out of balance, they're craving the dry things, the rice cakes, the dried crackers and chips and raw foods and crunchy things that are not supporting for vata. Likewise, for a pitta person, if they're in balance and the body's speaking to them with wisdom, they're craving the cooling foods. Again, I'm a pitta dosha, and sometimes when my pitta is actually too high out of balance, I crave those spicy things, that pungent taste to really, it just stimulates the dosha. And when I have enough awareness that when my body is craving that, I'm like, okay, what's actually going on here? And I stop and breathe and tune into my body, what it actually is telling me. And for the kapha person who is relatively imbalanced, they may crave those spicy foods to stimulate the energy. And then on the other side of that, if there's too much kapha and they're not regulated, they're going to create the sweet taste, which is going to dramatically aggravate that. So the challenge arises mostly when we repetitively satisfy the cravings that are aggravating to our dosha. And in the modern world, a lot of our satisfaction, our craving satisfaction, comes from highly processed foods versus whole foods. So we need to tune in. We need to stop. We need to breathe. We need to ask the body what it wants. The body is constantly giving us the information that we need to go into balance. It's asking for that balance. And the mind, unfortunately, has been trained to search for convenience, fast food, fast solutions, instead of taking the time to breathe and really ask what we need. So, one of the simplest Ayurvedic practices is to assess your current state. And that requires self-inquiry. We have to stop, we have to breathe, we have to be committed to ourselves. And so we can ask questions. Am I currently feeling hot or cold? Do I feel heavy or light, dry or moist, sluggish or overstimulated? And if we can ask those questions honestly, out of curiosity and out of genuine desire to support our body and consciousness in the best way, we can then make a good choice. We can choose the taste that provides the opposite quality of what's being presented. And this not just transforms our consciousness, this transforms eating into a daily mindfulness practice and a daily healing practice. You become your own physician. And with that, you work with nature rather than against nature. You're working with the intelligence of nature. So if we allow ourselves the awareness and we embody this ancient wisdom, the six tastes offer us profound wisdom, profound truth, profound insight, because all food is information. It's information from the Divine Mother. It's love from the Divine Mother. Mother Nature spends so much time and energy in the five elements growing our food for us. So food is wisdom. Food is Shakti. It's energy. Food is consciousness. And every bite we eat, every meal we take influences literally every aspect of our life. How we think, how we feel, how we move, how we digest, how we sleep, how we experience the human life, this human experience. So Ayurveda, the main teaching is that health is not found in fad diets, in rigid diets, in fasting until eternity, or over-consuming supplements. Health comes from awareness, primarily from awareness. And in that awareness, we can create balance. We can create the ability to respond, responsiveness, the ability to respond. We respond to our unique constitution, the Prakriti, and to the current condition, the Vikruti. And if you want to learn more about this in depth, you want to really learn how to work your karma mobile to the highest benefit. That's what the Complete Ayurveda Home Course is designed to teach you. But next time you sit down for a meal, just take a moment and notice the tastes that are on your plate. And notice how you feel eating these tastes. Ask yourself, do Atmavicharya, do more self-inquiry. Which tastes dominate my diet? Which tastes have dominated my diet? And a really important introspection is, what taste are you missing? And what are the qualities of the food that I'm bringing into my body every day? And if we can really look at that honestly, the answers will reveal why we feel the way we do, why we think the way we do, why we sleep the way we do, why we're inspired the way we do. If we can understand the language of taste, we gain immense wisdom, knowledge, experience, and we gain access to the most powerful healing tool we have. And that's the choices we make every day. That's through our diet. So I hope this was interesting to you. It's a foundational part of living on planet Earth. And if this was interesting to you, please share this with other people who you think might be interested. And always leave your comments, share your experiences and how the different tastes have affected you throughout your life and what your cravings are. So until next week, may your food nourish your body. May your food balance your mind. And may your food awaken your heart and support your journey towards greater health, balance, consciousness, and awakened living. Before you go, if you've been curious about Ayurveda and want to actually understand your body and start applying it into your daily life, I built the complete Ayurveda course for exactly that. It contains more than 30 years of education and practice distilled into 50 lessons, with over 10 hours of content, guided meditations, personalized assessments, and so much more. It's designed so you'll feel real shifts as you go through it. You'll experience more energy, better digestion, increased mental clarity, and a deeper sense of balance. Lesson by lesson, it's all there. So go to nibodhi.com/courses to learn more.